Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, we will be discussing about Azure Cloud Design Patterns. What are Cloud Design Patterns? It's a reusable solution to develop and deploy the application in the cloud environment. The purpose of these patterns is to provide a solution to a common issues and to improve the application performance and reliability and security. So let's get start with one of the pattern. Let's look into the gateway offloading pattern. So let's assume that you have a kind of a inventory service with all these features on top of your business logic. When you deploy this pattern into the cloud, how do you design? So this is how you will design, right? So you have your service and the for token validation, authentication, authorization, you will use Active Directory. Encryption, you will use a Key Vault. Logging, you will use Log Analytics. Monitoring, you will use Application Insight. Throttling, you will use APIM. SSL offloading, you can use a front door. So the request will go through the front door, APIM will be used for throttling, and finally it will go to your service, right? So this shows that hey, like what are all the resources Azure has and how can you use case. Let's look into one more pattern here, gateway routing pattern. So it is exactly the same, but in this case, let's introduce one more service, order service. Routing it's applied in the APIM, right? So end of the day, you will have a common URL, but there will be there is going to be a suffix that is going to decide whether the request goes to the inventory service or to the order service. So the routing it's handled at the APIM level here. Let's look into the federated identity pattern. So it is exactly the same, but let's assume that this order service needs to access Azure resources. There are multiple ways for a service to access the Azure resources. One of the particular method is to use the federated identity, which is nothing but your service account using which you can access the Azure resources. External configuration pattern. So let's assume that this order service should know about all of these other resources, right? So say like it needs to send the data to application insight, to the log analytics. It needs to interact with the service bus, key vault. So how does it know the name of these and the how to access all these? So you need to pause the configuration. That is where you can use the application configuration. The beauty of application configuration is that later you wanted to make a change, you can directly make a change into the application configuration. The application will pick it up and it will automatically reset the configuration without you really have to make any code change and do the deployment. And the publisher and subscriber pattern. So let's assume that you have an order service. When an order gets placed, you wanted to do a certain process here, you wanted to make a payment, shipping, order notification, inventory. So in this case, you will be using the service bus, you will have a kind of a topic in which you will be posting your order. Each of the other service will be considered as a subscriber to this particular topic, and they will get notified and they will do their process, right? Queue based load leveling pattern. So it is pretty similar to that. Let's assume that you wanted to connect with the customer service. Your request will be put into the queue, and the customer service, when they are available, they will pick it up and they will connect with you. So to do that, you can use either a service bus or a event hub. Choreography pattern, it's almost the same. Let's assume that you are a customer and then you place some order. The order service will pick up your order request, and then it will let the payment service know that hey, you need to do the processing, and the payment service will let the delivery service know hey, you need to deliver this particular product, right? So basically it's one service, it's letting the other service to do the work. Synchronous request replay pattern. So let's assume that you are a customer and you wanted to have the detailed bank statement. So you just go to the banking website, request for a detailed statement. Immediately you will notified saying that your request is being processed, and it will be added into the queue. And there is going to be another function app that is going to pick up your request, do the processing, and it will send you the detailed statement. So basically you really don't have to wait. You will be just sending the request, and then you're kind of done. When the request is ready, then you will be notified. Now that we discussed quite a few patterns, let's try to understand the categories of these patterns. So the first category is the availability pattern. The purpose of this particular pattern is to ensure the service is up and run. right? So one of this particular pattern, it's the health endpoint monitoring pattern. So basically what it says is that, hey, like I have a service, this particular service provides the endpoint, health endpoint, using which I get to know like whether this particular service it's up and run or it has some issues. Next category, it's data management patterns. So basically it deals with how exactly you deal with the load, right? So let's assume that you are a streaming service. So how do you deal with the huge amount of data, right? So you can use the radish cache, or how do you basically like offload your data, right? So this is what this particular data management pattern talks about. The next category, it's the performance and the scalability pattern. Let's assume that you are an e-commerce application during a specific time, like there is going to be a huge spike. So you can use the auto scaling. That way, like whenever you have a spike, the resource will automatically get scaled up, and you will not have any issues. Next category, it's the resilience patterns. So basically, like let's assume that you have multiple service running across, but the like one service it's down, but the like you don't want to throw an error to the customer, right? So how do you handle that kind of resiliency? It's what this resiliency category talks about. And the security pattern. So how do you ensure the application it's secure enough? You can use the security patterns category to do that. That we have the messaging pattern, we discussed a bit about this. So it's basically a publisher and subscriber pattern, so that way like one service can talk to the another service. If you want to know more about the cloud design patterns, you can refer back to the Microsoft materials. So in this particular page they have all the patterns listed. Also they have a catalog here using which you can browse through the architectures. Also, Microsoft covers all the pattern in detail in Cloud Design Patterns book that you can download. As you see here, this particular PDF covers all the patterns. I would strongly recommend you to go through all these resources. That's all I have for this video. Thank you for watching.